Hello, guys. We have a great show for you planned tonight. First, we're going to start it off with the MLB, just with a couple of World Series predictions. Obviously, Game 1 being last night, with the Giants really just putting a thrashing on the Royals. Madison Bumgarner was his great self, and obviously the Giants came out with the win. So they have a 1-0 series lead. Do either of you guys see the Royals still coming back and winning this series? Holden, we'll start with you.
I definitely think the Royals will win tonight against Jake Peavy. Jake Peavy is a piece of garbage. He is trash, and he doesn't come up in clutch moments. I remember last year watching the World Series, the guy just melted under the pressure. So I expect Jake Peavy tonight to be the reason the Giants win tonight's game, but I think the Giants will win the World Series, but they won't do it because of Jake Peavy.
Holden, I propose that if Jake Peavy gets a win tonight, you have to get a mohawk.
That's not going to happen, Jeremy, but I will tell you what's
Put your money where your mouth is, Holden. Put your money where your mouth is.
The Kansas City Royals will play great defense tonight, great small ball. They'll steal a lot of bases with their fast, young, athletic players, and they'll get a win tonight in the game.
Justin, what are your thoughts?
You know what this series already reminds me of? This series reminds me of the 2007 when it was Red Sox and Rockies, when the Rockies won all their games going into the World Series and then got blown out Game 1 of the World Series. I mean, everybody's expecting the Royals to come out strong after not losing a game, and then look what happens. They lose, what was it, 11-1? Was that the score, 7-1?
7-1, yeah.
7-1. However, I agree with Holden thinking that they will win tonight just because they know they can't go down 2-0, especially going back into San Francisco, which is a tough ballpark to play in. The fans, I don't think will let them lose. I know Jeremy's not big on home field advantage, but I personally am big on it. I'm not really big on Jake Peavy. The reason why I think they lost Game 1 was because of James Shields. Honestly, I mean, this guy's considered their ace, but I haven't really seen anything great out of him in the playoffs. I mean, he almost blew Game 1 for him in the wild card, which they wouldn't even be in this spot if he blew it there. I mean, you could thank their great hitting for that, and well, not great hitting, great small ball. I think they're going to continue that into the playoffs, and they have some great pitching. What's his name? Ventura. I mean, this guy's throwing gas. Is he on the mound tonight? Who's on the mound for the Royals?
I think he's on the mound.
I think Ventura's on the mound. I mean, this guy's hitting upper 90s. I mean, he did well against the Dodgers, so we'll see how or not the Dodgers, the Angels. We'll see how he does against the Giants tonight. So, Jeremy, what do you think?
The San Francisco Giants team has really been my team to win the World Series since the beginning. I think that you don't really have a lot of stars on the team, like a team like the Dodgers or even the Yankees were trying to do this year, which didn't ultimately pan out. But they just have a group of guys that always is able to come together and play well. I mean, Pablo Sandoval's been playing well. Hunter Pence. I mean, the list goes on. So it's just a good team. So I think that they're always going to get it done. This pitching staff. I mean, imagine if all of their pitching staff is healthy right now. This is just a dominant team. I mean, we're talking about the Royals getting blown out in this series, let alone even being in it if they have all their guys and all their horses lined up. But I think that San Francisco is definitely going to win this series. I really like what they did in Game 1. A lot of people thought with all the hype that was going on and, you know, all the time that the Royals haven't been in the position they were in last night, and for them to just come out quick, you know, getting the runs in they needed, and then Bumgarner pitching the way he has all season, I think that was really crucial for them and really played a big part in what they were able to do. So overall, I think the Giants are going to take this series. I think the Royals, I mean, maybe they'll put up a fight. I don't see this series going 7 games. I see this going. I could see it being a sweep. I mean, I can see it going 6 games most. I don't see it going to seven games.
I see this series probably going to 5, maybe 6 games. And Justin, like you said, it doesn't really matter who's on the mound for the Royals tonight because we know who's on the mound for the Giants. It is Jake Peavy, and he is going to throw nothing.
I could see him having a big game. However, going back to what Jeremy said, and you guys said it's a quick series, I could see this series going long, and I could possibly see the Royals coming back, if not winning the next 4 games and winning this in 5. That's how dominant I think this Royals team is. I think they could switch it on any time with their small ball. They can win anywhere. I'm going to go with the Royals in 7 games. Sure. Jeremy's going with Giants in 5. Holden, you have Giants in 5 or 6?
I have Giants in 5. I think they have a great manager, a seasoned manager who's already won 2 World Series before. They have a great pitching staff, minus the exception of Jake Peavy.
Holden, what is your vendetta against Jake Peavy? What has Jake Peavy not done in his career?
He hasn't produced for the Red Sox.
So would you rather have?
He has a ring.
Would you rather have Tim Lincecum?
He's going to have 2 at the end of this series. That is a ring that is on his finger. He has the postseason experience.
I'd rather have Tim Lincecum start, even though he hasn't participated so far much in this postseason. I know what he's done in the past. He's been a big game Cy Young Award winner. I'd rather have him than Jake Peavy, but Jake Peavy plays his heart out for Bruce Bochy, who's the manager for the Giants, but I definitely see the Royals putting up a fight. They're young. They haven't been in this moment before. They don't know what it's like. I don't think the pressure is going to get to them, but I think the Giants will know how to survive in that pressure cooker.
If Jake Peavy loses his game tonight, I will get a mohawk. I will put my money where my mouth is. I will get a mohawk if Jake Peavy loses to the Royals.
No, don't give him a walk. I don't know how to, because I don't want it to turn into like
if Jake Peavy, if the
well.
decision is Jake Peavy earns the loss.
Okay.
If he gets a no decision or a win, I'm clear. If Jake Peavy gets hit with the loss tonight, I will get a mohawk tomorrow for you, Holden. Tomorrow.
And if Jake Peavy wins tonight, he wins.
See how it is, man. That's fine. It's all right. We're done with MLB. We're moving on to the NFL. We're going to pick our best team from each conference. We're going to start with the AFC here. Justin, who's your best team in the AFC and then in the NFC as well?
Right now in the AFC, I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. They had a dominant win over the Cincinnati Bengals this past week. Andrew Luck's playing like an MVP this year. They got a plethora of great receivers. I think Trent Richardson, he had a rough start to his NFL career. I think he's honestly gonna redeem himself this year. And he's not gonna have like an MVP type season, but I could see him after a season like this going into next season being, a top 5 running back. I think this team is legit. As far as, do you want me to give my NFC team? Or
go for the NFC.
For the NFC, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I just think this team is playing very well this year. I think they're honestly going to run away with this division. Some consider this the best division in football. I think they're going to run away with it. I don't know how they'll do in the playoffs yet, but if anything's going to hold them down, it's going to be the play of Larry Fitzgerald if he doesn't pick it up, or the fact that they don't have an elite quarterback on their team. If you put the Arizona team with a guy like, Andrew Luck, or even a guy like, I would say, a guy like Andy Dalton. But Carson Palmer, I think they need to pick it up as far as the quarterback goes, but Andre Ellington's running the ball very well. I just think the Cardinals right now are playing the best football. Don't count out the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of our friends from North Haven are big fans, and we'll see how they do. DeMarco Murray, just as Andrew Luck, is having an MVP type season. So right now I'm going to go, but overall I'm going to go with the Colts in the AFC, and in the NFC I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't know if it's Larry Fitzgerald though that needs to pick it up for the Arizona Cardinals. I think what's going on in Arizona is Arizona doesn't want to have to pay Larry Fitzgerald the big money he's going to want, because obviously this is a contract year for him. I think Arizona is trying to see if they could win without him. Trying to get a guy like Michael Floyd involved, the younger guy that they have drafted with their first-round pick a couple years back, and see what they can do with him. And if they can let Larry Fitzgerald go, I think they'll think about letting him go just because he's getting older. He's not going to be the same guy he's been the last couple years in the next 5 years or so. I think that Arizona is trying to see what they can get with him. And I'm sure a team like the New England Patriots right now would be willing to take a Larry Fitzgerald. So you think that maybe come towards the trade deadline, maybe they think about making a move if they're comfortable with what they have at the moment.
I think Larry Fitzgerald's still been playing pretty well. When you watch the Arizona Cardinals play on offense, Larry Fitzgerald is still respected by opponent defenses. He still commands a double team. He still commands a safety over the top to prevent big plays down the field. So I don't think it's Larry Fitzgerald's fault that he's not producing. Carson Palmer's not playing up to the Carson Palmer of old, and Drew Stanton's not playing like a quality backup quarterback. So I can't really blame Larry Fitzgerald. Michael Floyd's getting one-on-one coverage with number 2 safeties and corners. So I can't really fault Larry Fitzgerald for how he's performing right now, and I can't really over-exaggerate how Michael Floyd's doing. But back to the topic at hand, AFC-wise, I'll have to go with the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning's still playing at that all-time high level. He still looks like he hasn't hit his ceiling. Like, he's still getting better every single week. It's like we'll never know how good this guy will ever be until he actually retires.
The Super Bowl
where he choked. I think he did choke, and he did get embarrassed in the Super Bowl. But you know what? He is on an angry mission to redeem himself and to redeem his teammates for that Super Bowl loss. It was embarrassing. I love the Denver Broncos. Everybody else on that team, they got Emmanuel Sanders, who I think is is an upgrade over Eric Decker. Demaryius Thomas and Julius Thomas are both playing out of their minds right now. Ronnie Hillman has added a nice boost to that running game. They have a healthy offensive line. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you have DeMarcus Ware, who's producing sacks. You have Von Miller back this season. You have T.J. Ward, who they got in free agency, who's a pretty good safety, and you have Aqib Talib at the cornerback position. So this team overall is a group of all-stars, and I expect them to win the AFC this year. NFC-wise, how about them Cowboys? Those Dallas Cowboys. DeMarco Murray's playing out of his mind right now. He's showing why he deserves to possibly be an MVP candidate this year. Tony Romo's playing good enough to win games. Des Bryant is playing out of his mind. I think playing the best so far of his career. Jason Witten's that quality tight end, model of consistency. And that defense has bent but never broken. And I love the acquisition of Henry Melton, who was a Pro Bowler in Chicago. And now he's plugging up the middle for that Dallas defense. I love the defense in Dallas. They're showing that they can be a good defense. Not a great defense, but a good defense.
As far as the AFC goes, I think I'm going to have to agree with Justin here and go with the Indianapolis Colts. Don't look now, but this defense has transformed into a good defense. They have a great pass rush now, even with Robert Mathis being suspended. They still have Bjorn Warner, a rookie they drafted 2 years ago, has turned into a great pass rusher. I think he has 4 sacks already on the season. Their cornerbacks are playing well. Everything seems to be coming together for them on the defensive side, and that offense is hard to stop. I mean, T.Y. Hilton has become arguably one of the emerging star wide receivers in this league. Reggie Wayne, the veteran there, obviously probably helping T.Y. become what he has become. The 2 tight ends they have there, and Cody Fleener and Dwayne Allen, obviously that offense is killer in the red zone. They've been very successful when they get down there. And the 2 running backs they have in Trent Richardson and Ahmad Bradshaw, that offense is hard to stop. They're ranked number 1 in the league right now in basically every statistical category. It's hard to go against these guys when you see them in the AFC. I think that they would pick apart any defense that they played at this moment right now. I think that this team is definitely the best offense in the league, and I think their defense is good enough to possibly propel them into a Super Bowl run. Looking at the NFC, I think I'd have to go with the Green Bay Packers right now. This offense is incredible. I mean, the wide receivers they have on that team with Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, the running back, Eddie Lacy, I think that defense is still work in progress, but when you're as good as the NFC North could be, I think the Lions are up there. You can even throw the Lions maybe as in the NFC's best team because of what they've been able to do without Calvin Johnson being 100%. So I think that both those teams, the NFC North, could be debated as the best team in the NFC North. But I mean, the NFC is still kind of open. It seems like last year you thought, the Broncos and Seahawks, you were definitely going to see these guys in the Super Bowl. These were the 2 clear-cut best teams. But this year, I think the race is a little more open for both sides.
One more thing with my Arizona Cardinals, I forgot to mention, I think Bruce Arians will win Coach of the Year. I mean, this guy's coaching that team well. That's another plus to this team. That's a big reason why I have them in the NFC.
Moving on, we're going to briefly touch on some MVP candidates we have for the NFL. Starting with Justin, who do you have for MVP candidates?
MVP candidates, like I mentioned in the last segment, I'm going to go with either DeMarco Murray from the Denver Broncos or Andrew Luck from the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, Andrew Luck is still young. What is he, 23, 24? I mean, this guy is only in his early 20s, and look what he's doing. I mean, wait till he gets into his prime. If he wins MVP this early, that's a good sign for the future of the Indianapolis Colts, especially, like you mentioned, T.Y. Hilton as an emerging star. Reggie Wayne will be leaving. He'll be coming in. As far as DeMarco Murray goes, I mean, if you take this guy out, I could honestly see the Cowboys not even winning a game this year. That's a big impact. Same with Andrew Luck. If you take out Andrew Luck and say Jeremy, let me ask you this, or Holden. If you throw in Carson Palmer with the Colts team, what's their record right now?
They're maybe a 500 team.
500. So
I'll go 500.
That's what I'm saying. Like without these guys, I mean, it's kind of unfair to be like, well, obviously these guys are good players, and it would obviously Hortle throw somebody else in. But and same to be said with Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, anybody like that. But I just think these guys just impact their team so much. Whether they even help out the defense. I'm sure they're leaders on and off the field. I mean, DeMarco Murray is leading this Dallas Cowboys team. This team has been getting criticism for going 8-8 in the past couple years. I mean, he's been helping Tony Romo out because he's been protecting him because he's taking the ball a lot. But this could be a risk at the same time for him, because if he gets hurt running all these carries, that could really hurt. Obviously, he's not going to win MVP if he's not playing the last 5-6 games. But overall, I'm going to go with them too. And I think if DeMarco Murray stays healthy, I think he'll pull away with it. But if he gets any injury or if he even comes down just a little bit, I'm going to go with Andrew Luck. But right now, if both players are keeping the same pace they are throughout the season, I'm going to go with DeMarco Murray winning MVP.
I have 2 candidates so far. I have Peyton Manning and DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray, because as we can say, over the past 7 games, he's been a stud right now. He's rushed for over 900 yards, and we're not even halfway through the season. And I love what he's doing on that offensive side of the ball with that monstrous offensive line. But I am a little worried because he has been an injury-prone player over his career, and he's on course to run the ball over 400 times. But he is in a contract year, so I think he will stay healthy throughout the season because I think even though he gets hurt, he'll still want to play because he's like, I'm in that contract year. I got to do well. I got to get paid. So I love what DeMarco Murray's doing right now behind that offensive line. And he's, like you said earlier, running backs helping out a defense. He is helping out that Dallas Cowboys defense by keeping them off the field. When DeMarco's on the field, they're churning that clock, grinding out the time. So when the other team's offense gets out there, they're only out there for a limited amount of time. And that way, the defense of the Dallas Cowboys has less time to get exposed by an offense. So I love what DeMarco Murray's doing right now for that Dallas Cowboys team. And I love what Peyton Manning's doing for the Denver Broncos. He is on an angry mission, like I said earlier, to prove that he did not get embarrassed in that Super Bowl. He wants that ring so bad. And he's playing like a stud right now with Emmanuel Sanders, Wes Welker, Julius Thomas, and Demaryius Thomas, with Ronnie Hillman. He's got so many weapons, a great offensive line, and he's proving that at age 38, going on 39, he has shown no signs of getting any worse.
For early MVP candidates, I'd have to agree with you guys. I think Peyton Manning, DeMarco Murray could be in the debate. I think Andrew Luck needs to be at the top for me. This guy is propelling this Colts team. He is this Colts team. He is the Colts franchise. He was since he replaced Peyton Manning. I still think they should have kept Peyton Manning and let him sit behind him 2 years because I think that would have just been better for him, even though obviously it's worked out great for them. So you can't really complain after the fact. But I think what he's done for this team, what he's done for this city, I think is great. I think he's going to be very successful for the rest of the season. I think he right now is my MVP favorite. But another guy you could throw in the mix is J.J. Watt from the Houston Texans. If you're looking at this award the way, it's supposed to be the most valuable player for their team, what would the Houston Texans be right now without J.J. Watt? I mean, this guy has 3 touchdowns, which is more than Larry Fitzgerald has. I mean, you look at a guy that's supposed to be lighting it up for his team. But J.J. Watt, he is just you have to prepare for him like no one else in this league right now. Whenever when the Steelers had to play the Texans this week, it was all about how are you going to stop J.J. Watt? What's your plan? And you can't stop the guy. He's just a monster. He's on a mission every time he gets on the field to get at the quarterback, whether it's sacking. We've seen him get interception returns for touchdowns. Just what this guy's able to do, the athleticism he has is crazy. I think it's hard to go against this guy for MVP candidate as well. But once again, it depends on how the people voting. Is he the defensive player of the year? Is that all he can earn, or is he truly the most valuable player in the league? It depends on how it's looking.
But I definitely think what you said earlier about a guy you have to prepare for. J.J. Watt is certainly a guy you have to prepare for, but there are other guys out there like Robert Quinn and Chris Long, guys who are disruptive pass rushers who you need to prepare for. But another guy you need to prepare for, and I think more than prepare for J.J. Watt, is Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is the ultimate guy.
But it's 2 totally different
positions. I feel like with Peyton Manning, you have to prepare for that whole offense.
It's 2 total different positions.
Right.
You can't compare a quarterback and a linebacker.
J.J. Watt, I've seen games where he's gotten neutralized. I mean, you just run the ball the opposite direction, and he can't do anything. He's on one side, you run it to the left, he's on the right.
But you're forcing him to that side of the field. By wherever J.J. Watt lines up, you can line 2 extra linebackers up on that side, and you can stuff that run if you're smart if you're the Texans defensive coordinator, you're setting your defense up around J.J. Watt.
Right. J.J. Watt's a great player, no doubt. Defensive player of the year a couple seasons ago. Last year only had 10 sacks, so, I mean, he can produce, but the Houston Texans aren't making the playoffs just because of J.J. Watt.
But do you measure an individual player's success based on if their team makes the playoffs or not? You look at Robert Griffin III, won the Heisman a couple years back, and his team wasn't even in a serious bowl game. His team went 9-3. So do you really consider the most valuable player based on the team?
Well, a lot of the NFL MVP candidates in the past have been selected from teams with winning records. So in that case, I'll have to say yes, it does depend on how the rest of your team is doing to truly evaluate how much you're contributing to the team's success during the season. But definitely one guy that no one's really talking about that I think is doing pretty well is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, after saying, what was it on his radio show, RELAX, relax to the rest of the Packers Nation fans, and then he goes out and I think he's thrown 10 touchdowns.
4 straight wins.
4 straight wins, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, he is balling right now. And he was an NFL MVP award winner a couple seasons ago. No one talks about Aaron Rodgers, and I think he truly is probably against Peyton Manning, you could debate which one of these guys is the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Moving on, we're going to talk about the next great wide receiver star. Obviously, you have stars right now, Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson. These guys are kind of on their way out, except, Calvin Johnson probably isn't, but Andre Johnson, maybe a Reggie Wayne or Larry Fitzgerald. We're going to talk about who we think is going to replace them, who's the next great wide receiver. Holden, we'll start with you.
I think the next great wide receiver is obviously, I think, Antonio Brown. I mean, he's only 25 years old. I think 24, 25 years old. I mean, he's still fairly young in his career. And after seeing what he did on Monday night against the Houston Texans, against J.J. Watt, against what he did to those boys.
He's a defensive lineman.
Right,
he's a wide receiver.
Antonio Brown got the ball on a reverse sweep, and he threw a touchdown. I didn't see J.J. Watt near him. I saw him coming after him. He juked him, and he threw that touchdown pass. He showed J.J. Watt that, I'm sorry, dude, you're not an NFL MVP candidate.
You can't.
But Antonio Brown, I love what he is. He's only 5'10", 185 pounds compared to other wide receivers like Calvin Johnson, 6'4", 240, Brandon Marshall, 6'4", 230. I mean, he is a miniature receiver, Antonio Brown, and he is fearless. He is a speedster, and you know what? He's not afraid to go up and make that jump ball in traffic. I love what he's doing right now as the number one receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why when Mike Wallace left to the Dolphins, I wasn't really upset about the Pittsburgh Steelers losing him because they had Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders at the time. I love what Antonio Brown's doing. He can also play on special teams as a punt returner, as a kick returner, so he is a multifaceted threat on that Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
Justin, what are your thoughts? He's going to go with Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins on the Buffalo Bills. I don't care if he's only a rookie. I mean, they had the trust in him to be that number one receiver in that late game drive last week. I mean, how do you do this, but you have to have great trust in a guy if you're going to throw it to him for the game-winning touchdown. I mean, this guy's already their number one receiver. He's only a rookie. I loved what the Buffalo Bills did to trade up and get him. I just think this guy's the next great receiver. I mean, if they can get a solid quarterback to come in, I mean, you're talking about a franchise that's going to be around, I could see, for 10, 12 years. If they can maybe draft a QB in the draft, maybe trade for a guy. I mean, another guy, maybe the Bills can go after a guy like Larry Fitzgerald to maybe mentor young Sammy Watkins.
Oh, that'd be a serious receiving core right there.
That'd be a great receiving core. And, I mean, C.J. Spiller's a great running back, so he complements him nice. I think Sammy Watkins, he could have an MVP season down the road. This guy is the next great wide receiver. You can count on that. He'll be a top free agent in the future. Hopefully he stays with the Bills, but definitely this guy is the number one receiver, or the next rising star receiver in the NFL. I know who you're going to say, but
who do you think I'm going to say?
T.Y. Hilton?
No, T.Y. Hilton is definitely a guy to watch. I really love what he does, but I have two other guys that I like as well. Kelvin Benjamin from the Carolina Panthers. This guy's just huge, like a Calvin Johnson or Brandon Marshall type player. Basically a tight end size. He just goes up, makes all the big plays Cam Newton needs. Obviously, the loss of Steve Smith, a lot of people were worried. Was Carolina going to be able to have another wide receiver to do what Steve Smith was able to do? I think Kelvin Benjamin has stepped right into that role and done exactly what needed to be done for that team. Obviously, the offense they could have could be very successful with D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, all those guys, and then Kelvin Benjamin. I think that they'll need another wide receiver to complement him, whether it's through the draft in a couple years or maybe a free agent signing or something like that. But another guy I like is the San Diego Chargers' Keenan Allen. Probably the best route runner in the NFL. I think that this guy's really got some serious potential in his second year. So he's been doing really well. But we do have a call-in. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hi. Big fan. As long as we're on the wide receiver topic, what do you guys think of Doug Baldwin?
Doug Baldwin from Seattle?
Percy Harvin, go on.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'll hang up and listen for your reply.
Absolutely. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
So what do you guys think about Doug Baldwin?
Doug Baldwin, great wide receiver. He's 5'10", 180, so he's a miniature guy, but he's a tough receiver, and he makes those tough contested catches. He played a big-time game in the Super Bowl. Percy Harvin's gone, so Doug Baldwin will have to step into that number one wide receiver role after Percy Harvin stepped in for Golden Tate, who left for the Lions. So I'm looking for a lot of production from Doug Baldwin. It's all about the production from Russell Wilson, though. Seattle's offense revolves around that run game with Marshawn Lynch, and they only have to rely on Russell Wilson to throw the ball 20 to 25 times a game. So Doug Baldwin won't get a lot of looks and a lot of catch attempts, but he will play pretty well, and he's always shown that he can play really well in the biggest moments, the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl. He is a clutch receiver. But at the same time, he got his money. He got his 2-year deal. Is he up to the challenge of fighting for that second contract? I don't know.
I agree with you, Holden. I think this guy's going to be big. I think he started off the season big. I didn't think they needed to get that Percy Harvin trade to accept this guy. I mean, Percy Harvin was absolutely disrespected on that team. I mean, supposedly he's the number 1 receiver, but he was barely getting thrown to. I mean, part of the reason why I think they lost in Dallas was they didn't get the ball to Percy Harvin the whole game. I mean, most of the game. So I think this guy will continue to do what he's doing this season, and I just agree with Holden. I think it was a good trade, maybe bring this guy in, because I think he'll be an upgrade just because of the situation they had on the team. I think Percy Harvin's a better receiver, but just because of the way the personnel was working out in the locker room, and there was rumors that Percy Harvin and some of the other players were getting into locker room things or whatever. But so I think it was a good trade to get Percy Harvin out of there, and I think this guy will step it up and help out the Seahawks offense, which I think they're a little underrated for.
But at the same time, one thing about Doug Baldwin is he's had 2 seasons where he's been chosen to be like on the All Joes team, which is like the NFL All-Pro third team, and he's had 2 seasons of over 700 yards, which is pretty good. But that was as the number 3 receiver behind guys like Percy Harvin, Golden Tate, Sidney Rice, who was in Seattle for a brief period of time. So I don't know what Doug Baldwin's going to do against guys like Joe Hayden, Darrelle Revis, Patrick Peterson, number 1 corners. Is he going to go man-to-man, toe-to-toe with those guys and produce? I mean, I don't know.
True. It's going to be like an Eric Decker situation, going from like a low receiver to the number 1.
I think if I'm going to pick anyone from Seattle that I'm going to go with, it'd be Jermaine Kearse. I think that this guy is really underrated. It seems like every time a big moment's happening in the game that the Seahawks are involved in, he always seems to be making some sort of play, whether it's, fighting for the first down yardage on a 3rd down or even catching a big touchdown pass. I think that this guy always seems to go under the radar. No one really knows who he is. I mean, Doug Baldwin obviously is going to become, their 1 or 2 or whatever their situation is going to be. But I think Jermaine Kearse, look for him the next couple weeks to step up. I think that he's a really underrated wide receiver in the league. So I think that if anyone's going to be stepping up for Seattle and playing above their potential, maybe, I think it's going to be Jermaine Kearse. Moving on, we're going to talk about the NFC West. Speaking of the Seattle Seahawks, we're just going to do a quick breakdown, maybe how you guys think the standings are going to come out, what teams are going to be in, what teams are going to be out. Hold on, we'll start with you.
I definitely think that the Cardinals are going to win this division. I love the Cardinals right now. At the beginning of the season, I predicted them to actually be in the basement of that division, and because of the losses they had on defense, with Darnell Dockett being lost for the year, with Carlos Dansby leaving in free agency, and with Darrell Washington being suspended for smoking marijuana. So I thought this defense was going to be awful. Like, they were going to be gashed against the run, and they weren't going to be able to stop people like DeMarco Murray or Adrian Peterson or Marshawn Lynch or Zach Stacy. But they've really produced on that defensive side of the ball, only giving a little more than 2 yards a carry. That secondary is elite with Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, and Antonio Cromartie with their first-round pick, Deion Buchanan, from last year's draft. That secondary is verging on elite. So I love that defense in the secondary. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they have guys like Michael Floyd, guys like Andre Ellington, guys like Larry Fitzgerald, who can all produce and win games for you and score some points. And Carson Palmer just has to manage the game. He doesn't have to do too much, but he still has to produce just enough and get the ball to guys like Larry Fitzgerald. So I love the Cardinals right now. The 49ers are just injury-ravaged right now. They don't have any of their starting linebackers. Aldon Smith is out. Patrick Willis is out, and Navarro Bowman are out. So without those 3 guys, those are all your 3 major impact players on defense. That secondary in San Francisco is pretty shaky. Eric Reed's the only stud player there. And then on the offensive line for the 49ers has been hurt all season. Anthony Davis has been in and out of the lineup. Joe Staley has been in and out. Alex Boone has been in and out. They have no consistency on that offensive line. The run game, they're not giving the ball enough to Frank Gore. He's not getting enough touches. And that's the success to San Francisco's recipe for success. They need to get the ball to Frank Gore, but they're not. They're relying on Kaepernick, and he's just not producing, even with the stud talent around him. And then you look at Seattle. I think they're a little hungover from the Super Bowl win. They're riding high on that victory, and they really need to get that fire going again and that hunger going to get a second Super Bowl ring. but that defense hasn't produced. They've looked pretty awful. They've ranked in the bottom half of the league so far, and I really need them to step up right now because they could possibly be a dynasty because they have a great nucleus of young talent with Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman. They just need some veteran leadership to rally that locker room and get them on the right track.
Justin, what are your thoughts?
As I said earlier in the show, I think the Arizona Cardinals will run away with this division. I'm not impressed with the Seahawks this year after 2 losses. I mean, everybody figured, a lot of people predicted, hey, after that San Diego loss, that's it. That's it for the tough game going to San Diego. That's it for the Seahawks. They're not losing again. They go. Dallas comes up to Seattle and they lose again, which a game I predicted. I wish we had pick and wins that week because I would have probably picked that. Nobody else would have. I honestly, I could see them losing. I could see them losing 5 or 6 games this year. Just as Holden said, maybe they're a little hungover from the Super Bowl. Maybe they were expecting to get back into the playoffs automatically. I'm not sold on the San Francisco 49ers yet. I kind of feel like they're a little confused on what's going on here. They're always that team that everybody picks to win the Super Bowl every year, and then like they're just an average team, or maybe they make a run and then they lose in the NFC Championship game. So I just don't. I'm not sold on them either. And as far as the Rams go, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to go for another mediocre season here, and maybe
I didn't even mention the Rams. That's how bad they are.
I mean,
it's just like
they're not horrible. It's just they're in a really hard division. I mean. But I just think they're going to get more draft picks. They're looking to rebuild for the future. They need They need a QB for the future. So
they need like another 2 years.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals here to run away with this division.
I think the NFC West has been and is going to be one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL for years to come. Obviously, the Cardinals have emerged in this division. They're obviously leading it right now, and a lot of people are like, I'm not going to jump on them so quick. I mean, I've loved this team the last 2 or 3 years. I think I've loved what they've been doing. Bruce Arians, obviously, has done great. He did great when Chuck Pagano had to take his leave when he was in Indianapolis, and then he obviously got the job in Arizona. So I think that that they definitely have a lot going for them. I'm not going to say that they're going to run away with this division yet. I don't think that they're at that level yet. But I think the 49ers just need to get healthy. This team is just crippled all over the place, whether it's the offensive line or the linebackers like Holden had mentioned. They were getting picked apart by the Broncos just because their second-string guys are in mostly. It's hard to compete when guys that aren't taking first-team snaps are the majority of your defense. So I think that once San Francisco gets that all figured out, they're going to be right where they were last year, making a run in the postseason. If they get a wild card spot, it won't even matter. This team's capable of going onto the road and winning games. Colin Kaepernick's proved he could make a run in the postseason, so I'm not worried about these guys. I think that Seattle, I'm not going to completely count Seattle. Yeah, I mean this team's 3-3. I think that a lot of people are going to overreact just because they're the Super Bowl champions. They played a tough game against Dallas, so it's not like they were getting blown out by them. It was down to the wire. I think that the Percy Harvin thing kind of took them by shock. I think they were expecting him to be a big producer in the offense, and with him refusing to go in the fourth quarter against Dallas, that's obviously something that's going to catch them by surprise. Maybe they win the game if Harvin's willing to go in. So I think that Seattle's where they got to be. I think that they're kind of going through their injuries themselves. I mean, they haven't had as many as San Francisco, but I mean Cam Chancellor hasn't been 100%. And you guys say what you want about Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas. I think Cam Chancellor is really the keystone of that secondary, just because he's always guarding the 2 of the slot wherever he is. He's all over the place. It always seems like he's there making a big play on deflecting a ball down or getting in front, stopping someone from making a big catch. I feel like he's just always there. He's one of the more underrated defenders in this league. So I think that once he gets back to 100%, that defense is really going to gel around what they have, and then their pass rush is going to be there. So I'm not worried about Seattle yet. And the Rams, Austin Davis honestly has become one of my favorite players. I think that he's got so much fire in him. I mean, when they almost came back against the Eagles and he threw that interception, you could tell he was furious with himself, just throwing his helmet on the sidelines, whatever it was. He wanted that win really badly. When they beat the Seahawks, he was obviously pumped. So I think that I think St. Louis could potentially, I mean, this guy could be the next Tom Brady. No one knows what this guy's capable of. But I really like what I've seen out of him based on his competitiveness and the way he approaches every game.
Another thing with the Rams, very quick, we were just mentioning upcoming wide receivers. I mean, how about Tavon Austin? I mean, possibly another one of those upcoming guys. I mean, I don't give him as much of a chance as I do my man Sammy Watkins, but I think this guy has a legit possibility. But
yeah, definitely. Tavon Austin's definitely in that mold of a Percy Harvin-esque receiver. Not really a down-the-field threat or a screen guy, but he's like a hybrid, a running back, wide receiver
does it all. And
does it all, really.
Moving on, we're going to talk about the NBA, a little bit of a preview for the season to come. We're going to start with each of us had ranked our top 8 teams for each conference, so in essence the playoff teams. Justin had in his Eastern Conference the Bulls first, the Cavs second, the Hornets third, the Hawks fourth, the Knicks fifth, the Raptors sixth, the Bucks seventh, and the Nets eighth. And then in the West he had the Clippers, Spurs, Warriors, OKC, Portland, Houston, the Pelicans, and then the Mavericks. Justin, what are your thoughts on your picks?
Could I see my list just
Absolutely.
so I could refer to it? All right, so at number 1, I picked the Bulls. I watched the preseason game. Even LeBron James admitted it. I agree with what he said. The Bulls are a better team than they are. I feel like the Cavs, like you just looked at the players they have and you're like, oh, this team's going to the finals automatically. They're playing the Spurs, whatever. But not that I'm not sold on them. I just think people were counting at the Bulls. I mean, yeah, they do have LeBron, Kyrie, and Love, but if they can't really get that chemistry going, I mean, you saw what happened to the Big Three in Miami. I mean, I would honestly consider this Big Three to be better, because of Dwayne Wade's injuries, but that's another story. But as far as the Bulls go, I mean, if Derrick Rose is healthy, I mean, what did he drop, 30 and 7? And some rebounds. I mean, this guy's going to be that offense they need. Everybody else plays D, basically, and this guy plays offense. Another key signing was Pau Gasol. I mean, this guy's going to come in, average 17 points a game last year. I don't think he'll do that much because, like I said, they do have Derrick Rose, but I could see him being, 14, 15 point, 8, 9 rebounds a game. Veteran in the league, can teach the young power forwards they got with Muradic and those guys. So I think the Bulls will ultimately finish first, bearing no injury by Derrick Rose. 3, I got the Charlotte Hornets. I love this team. I just think that Lance Stevens signing was great. I think they're going to lead that in and possibly win the 3 seed. The Hawks, kind of a surprise team coming in at 4th, but look what this team did last year. I mean, they almost shocked the Pacers, and without Al Horford, and this team's only getting better from here. The Knicks, I have at 5. I think Melo's going to lead this team. I think he's going to win the scoring title this year with Kevin Durant coming back from that foot injury. He wants to take his time on that. Raptors, similar to last year, I just think they're going to get a little better. Bucks are my surprise team in the East. I just think this team is going to come out of nowhere. Jabari Parker is my candidate for Rookie of the Year, probably a top 2 candidate, and I love Larry Sanders holding down that paint. And the Nets, got coming in at 8th. I think the Nets will make it. They won't go anywhere. Darren Williams, I hopefully can lead this team. Kevin Garnett's getting older. Brook Lopez is injury prone. We know all about that, but that's it. And I think the Bulls and Cavs will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. The West, I got the Clippers at 1. I think the Clippers, this will be their year. I mean, every year they're that team that, can they make that next push? But they got Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. Spencer Hawes was a great signing. They haven't had that big man who could actually shoot. They've just had DeAndre Jordan, Ryan Hollins last year. Wasn't a great signing. They lost Darren Collison, but they did get Jordan Farmar to back up Chris Paul. I just think the Clippers will get the 1. Not necessarily win the West, but I think they'll get the 1 seed. 2, I'm going with the Spurs for obvious reasons, just coming off the NBA championship. Warriors, Splash Brothers will lead this team. I wish they had gotten Kevin Love. If they had gotten Kevin Love, I probably would have put them top 2. OKC, I would normally, if Kevin Durant was healthy, put them in the top 2, but I think when he comes back, I don't think they're going to win games at first. I mean, he could be out for the first 30 games, possibly. Portland at 5. This team, I think they're either going to get the 5th seed kind of thing or be out of the playoffs. Like, I just think they're going to have one of those, a good season or a bad season. They're not going to have like a mediocre 7-8 seed. 6, I got Houston. Obvious reasons. James Harden, Dwight Howard. I don't think they need that. They need one more piece. Thought it was going to be Chris Bosh. Pelicans, I love what they did with signing Omar Ashik to slide Anthony Davis back to his natural 4 position, and I think he's going to thrive there. Drew Holiday's coming back off injury. And finally, I got the Mavs at the 8th seed. I could possibly see them upsetting in the 1-8 game and maybe making a run. I just think they're an upgraded team from last year. So those are my 8 teams from each conference. And we'll see what happens. I can't wait for the NBA to start. What do you think, Holden?
All right, let's get through this. We got the East. We got the Cavs, number 1. I think any team LeBron James goes to at this point in his career, they're automatically going to the NBA Finals. This dude is playing like a stud. He is in the prime of his career.
I'm going to cut you off before you start just because we do have a call and I don't want you to get into your picks and all that. So we'll see what's going on here. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry, I have one more question.
Absolutely.
I know we're talking about basketball, but a local sports question.
Okay.
North Haven High School football fan. I want to know what you guys think about Madison's decline and what kind of impact it has on North Haven's chances for the playoffs.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I think that with Madison kind of struggling, it's definitely going to hurt North Haven's chances of getting into the postseason, just because if that's supposed to be their signature win and this team's hovering around 500, it's going to be hard to argue that they should be in. I think that North Haven's going to have to win the game against Darien. I think if they do win that game, that's going to be their signature win. That'll get them into the postseason. I think even if they lose that game, they could still potentially get in, just because whether how the point system works. I mean, they're only a 2-loss team at that point. So it's going to be. You could argue that they should be in, but I think if they are able to go to Darien and beat them, that's definitely going to be the signature win they need. They'll definitely be in the postseason and maybe get a decently higher seed than they had last year, and maybe they won't have to travel to a Platte like they did last season. Obviously, that was a big win for North Haven football. Their first playoff win, and played well against New Canaan. I mean, there was a hold call halfway through that game that a lot of people didn't think was a hold. Pulled back a touchdown for North Haven. So I think that if they can get that win against Darien. I mean, this team's got a legitimate shot, I feel, at winning the state championship here. I mean, I think this is one of the first times, excluding last year, where North Haven is a legitimate team that could possibly, pull together and win and do something serious. I think Colpcore leading that team is he's done a great job. I mean, the way this kid's morphed from his freshman year, I mean, he started off, he was running the offense. He wasn't the star like he is now, and he plays both ways now, defense and offense. He seems to really be in control of that team. It seems to be his group of guys. And then Montano, obviously the junior, has played really well. I mean, this team's going to be. I think this team really has the potential to really become a football town. I mean, North Haven's always been known as a baseball town, but I think with this team or last year's team and moving on forward, I think that they could really start to be considered a football town. Justin, Holden, you guys have any thoughts?
Obviously, I filmed that. Oh, not obviously. I filmed the hand game, and I was very impressed with what I saw from North Haven. I mean, Hunter Coughlin getting that pick. If he doesn't get that pick, I mean, Hand was on a nice run there. They started around the 10, 20-yard line. I mean, I was afraid that they were going to score a touchdown and North Haven was going to lose. Coughlin gets the pick on a. It was a good play. I mean, he kind of threw it right to him. But I really like what you're saying about the captains. I mean, specifically Cole running that offensive defense. But Tom Gallagher had 3 or 4 touchdowns against Sheehan, and Joe Corniello's on both the defensive and offensive line. And I like what you said about the juniors. I mean, we talked to Coach Sagnell, and he said they do have a small senior and freshman class, but the juniors and sophomores, they have a big class, and for the next 2 years, they have a lot of players who are good players, and it's nice that there's a lot of juniors incorporated in this year. So next year, they already know what to expect, and I think that'll help the team in the future. But I think the hand game was a big win. I was talking to one of my neighbors, and he was looking at all the other teams, and he thinks that North Haven could possibly, make a run and win that state championship. He doesn't see any team that could get in their way. So hopefully everything works out, and I'd love, like Jeremy said, to see North Haven become a football town. Not that I dislike baseball, but football is just, it's great to see all those people come out to the games, and I think North Haven deserves it.
Yeah, I love North Haven's sort of ascension to the top echelon of Connecticut State football. You look at Hand right now, I think their youth leagues are struggling, and they're suffering from a lack of strong classes. 2 years ago, they won the state championship. They had a great senior class. Their entire varsity team was seniors. I mean, they had like 30 seniors graduate from the football team. Then the following year, they were pretty good, but they suffered from that huge senior loss. A lot of guys had to step into new roles, and now you're seeing those seniors left from last year, and now you got even younger guys who's never played a snap in a varsity game having to step into those huge shoes to fill. So I think Madison's just really suffering from a lack of experience at the varsity level, and North Haven's not. They're thriving from huge loads of experience at all levels during those varsity games. I mean, you look at each and every class, so a lot of those guys have had varsity experience. Mike Montano is carrying the load right now on that offensive side of the ball. He's really making a name for himself also as a safety on that defensive side of the ball. You look at Tom Gallagher, he's providing that energetic, fire in the belly spark for that offense and that defense. Then you look at Cole, who's done a really good job running that offense in the place of Mike Halloran and Ethan Sarasi from a year ago. So I'm really happy for Cole. He's doing a great job as that running back and quarterback. Then you look at guys like Mike McKenna, who's been ravaged with injuries throughout his football career, and now in his senior year, he's finally getting to play a consistent load of games, and he's showing why he's a pretty good football player. Then you look at guys like Jeremy Imparati, who has stepped up as a tight end and as an outside linebacker. Guys like Connor Sarasi, who moved down from the corner position to play outside linebacker. And I thought this team was going to really struggle on the defensive side of the ball, especially with the loss of Zach Kastenhuber, who went to Choate to repeat his junior year. I thought they were going to lose a lot of ability on the edge and to rush the passer. But guys like Jeremy and guys like Connor and guys like Davey Mikas have really stepped up, produced, and really stopped the run game of opposing offenses. And I really think if they beat Darien, that will be their quality win of the season to prove why North Haven deserves to make a run in the playoffs.
I mean, look at North Haven football. They really have 3 big games every year. It's Xavier, Hand, Darien. You win 2 of those games, that's 2 signature wins you have, and the 1 loss you potentially have. I mean, they normally run the table in those 3
I thought
games.
they should have beaten Xavier. I mean, I was watching that game on television, and they had him on the ropes. I mean, Xavier's quarterback wasn't that great. He was a pretty small guy, but he was shifty in the pocket, and North Haven just couldn't collapse that pocket on pass rushes. So I thought they really did well on the offensive side of the ball. Tommy Gallagher had a great pick on a screen pass. I really think that if they got a little more pressure on that quarterback, that team would have collapsed and North Haven would have won that game. So in my opinion, I thought it was sort of a moral victory because I thought they played better, but just things didn't turn out. So I really think if they beat Darien, they're going to make the playoffs.
You can proceed.
Back to my NBA power rankings. I had the Cavs at number 1, like I said, with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. I mean, those guys, once they get that chemistry flowing, they'll be a dominant team in the Eastern Conference. You got Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls. I mean, I picked this team to make a lot of noise in the Eastern Conference last year, and obviously they didn't because Derrick Rose missed the entire season again due to injury. I think really the Bull season depends on Derrick Rose's health. If he's not healthy, this team won't make an impact in the Eastern Conference. And I'm really leery because he hasn't played a full season in quite a while. So I really think if he produces, this team will make it to the finals. Then I have the Knicks. I really love Carmelo Anthony. He's really worked very hard over the summer. You can see he's lost a lot of weight and really got himself into tip-top shape after signing that max contract. They got guys like Jose Calderon, who's a great shooter, guys like Amon Shumpert, young guys who are still improving, and guys like Hardaway Jr. I think this team will have a lot of potential on the offensive side of the ball. Then I got the Miami Heat. I mean, they still have Chris Bosh. They still have Dwayne Wade. They signed Luol Deng to sort of fill in for LeBron James and Danny Granger. I think with all those guys, you can make up the presence and the impact of LeBron James in the aggregate. So I really look for the Miami Heat, a squad experienced at winning championships, to at least make some noise in the playoffs. I mean, you heard it from Dwayne Wade. He's looking forward to playing LeBron James. Then I had the Wizards, John Wall, Bradley Beal, possibly the best young backcourt in the NBA. I have the Nets at number 6 with Darren Williams and Brook Lopez. These guys have produced. They've had some health concerns, but I think Lionel Hollins will bring some defensive tenacity and toughness to that squad, and I think Darren Williams is a little soft and pudgy around the middle, and Lionel Hollins will whip him into tip-top shape. Then I had the Raptors, who made a nice run last year. I think they'll get bounced out pretty quick. They're really shaky at that number 7 seed. I don't really love that squad with Kyle Lowry. And then I have Charlotte, who added Lance Stevenson in the offseason to add some toughness, defense, and some scoring to that offense. So I really love what Charlotte's done in the offseason. They still have guys like Al Jefferson who can put up double-doubles in his sleep, and guys like Kemba Walker who are feisty and super fast. So in the West, I have the Spurs, just because they won the NBA Finals last year, and they've shown no signs of slowing down over the past couple of years, even with older guys like Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili. I think with Coach Popovich, who I believe is the best coach in the NBA, this team can make it back to the NBA Finals. Then I have the Clippers in their second year under the leadership of Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers transformed Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan last year. Those guys were playing pretty well, but then Doc Rivers took them up another level. They've improved vastly on the defensive side of the ball. You have Chris Paul manning that floor, and then they signed, like you said earlier, Spencer Hawes in free agency, who's really a stretch 4, stretch 5, allow you to take DeAndre Jordan out of the game in the fourth quarter because he can't hit free throws. Then you add in Spencer Hawes, who can spread the floor, nail some threes, and allow Chris Paul to dribble drive, penetrate, and operate in the paint. Then I had the Warriors. Stephen Curry is proving to be one of the better players in the game. It seems like he can make any shot with his eyes closed. I really love that scoring. Klay Thompson is in a contract year out to prove that he's one of the better young players in the NBA. You have guys like Andre Iguodala on the defensive side of the ball. Also, I have the Trailblazers at number 4. I think, like you said earlier, it's either they're going to make like a 4th, 5th, or 6th seed or not make the playoffs at all. I mean, they're in a really competitive division, and they're a really streaky team. When they're hot, they're on fire. But when they're cold, they're ice cold.
Yeah, the second half of the year, they were a 500 team last year.
Right, exactly. Thunder at number 5 just because Kevin Durant's out right now due to injury, and they don't really have a bench. Like, when they go to their second-string players, they can't really get any scoring going. That's why I think the loss of James Harden was, like, huge, because he came off the bench for the Thunder. And then I have the Rockets at 6, and I can bump them up to 4 because I really love Dwight Howard. I've watched some of the preseason games. He's looked super athletic and super strong. I think all the work in the offseason has really paid off for Dwight, and you have James Harden obviously progressing and growing. Then I have the Grizzlies with Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol. This team has consistently been a 6th, 7th, or 8th seed in the playoffs, and I think they'll produce that again this year. Then I'm going to top it off with the Dallas Mavericks, who got Tyson Chandler and Raymond Felton from the New York Knicks. Tyson Chandler reuniting with Dirk Nowitzki in that front court, and I think they'll prove to consistently be another 6, 7, or 8 playoff team.
Moving on to my picks in the East, I have the Cavs and Bulls top. The Cavaliers getting the 1 seed just because I feel like LeBron James is really going to be able to pull this team together. I think they do have what the Heat didn't really have last year, which is kind of what LeBron James needed, some role players. I think Deion Waiters is going to step up for them. Anderson Varejao, I think that those guys are going to play well, and that's going to help them succeed. So I have them, and then the Bulls, obviously, all depends on Derrick Rose's health. If he's there, they'll be at top of the East. If he's not, they're going to be in the middle, maybe bottom half of the playoff picture. And then at 3, I have the Toronto Raptors because of what they have, DeMar DeRozan, Justin's favorite, Jonas Valanciunas, and then obviously getting Kyle Lowry back is a good signing. So I have them at 3 right now. At 4, I have the Miami Heat. Obviously, losing LeBron was devastating for them, but they did a good job at signing Luol Deng. Keep Chris Bosh, who claimed he was going to leave to head to Houston if LeBron James left. So keeping him, obviously keeping them in weight together, and then Luol Deng, the signing of him. They signed McRoberts and a couple other players. So I think that they're not going to obviously fill what LeBron James was, but they're still going to be relevant in the Eastern playoff picture. At 5, I have the Wizards. I think Paul Pierce was a good signing just to bring some veteran leadership to this team. Obviously, John Wall and Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal being such a great shooter, he's obviously out for the moment, but when he comes back, I think he's going to pick up right where he left off. And then John Wall arguably becoming the face of Washington. And I think that they're just going to be successful with that group. At 6, I have the Hornets just because Lance Stevenson, we all seem to like that signing, and then adding that to what they already had with Kemba and Al Jefferson. I think that they're definitely going to be a stingy team, and I think Lance Stevenson brings that toughness that they were lacking last year with the guys that they had. At 7, I have the Brooklyn Nets. I've never really been a fan of Deron Williams. I feel like he never really has any heart, never really plays with any character that I love to see from NBA players, guys like Joakim Noah, things like that. Exactly. He doesn't seem to care about anything but the $10 million the Nets are going to have to give him every year. And then at the 8th seed, I have the Detroit Pistons.
Where are the Bucks?
I think that no, not the Bucks. I think that the Pistons are going to do well this year. They tried to get all the big free agents last year, Josh Smith and Brandon Jennings, but it just didn't really mesh together. I think having, another training camp, another off season to match, I think that these guys are going to come together and make a playoff. Exactly, Stan Van Gundy's going to have a positive influence. So I think that the Pistons are going to be able to make the postseason this year. For the West, I have the Spurs at the number 1 seed just because, they're San Antonio. They're always going to be there. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. It always seems like this is going to be the year they fade away, and then they just seem to get farther and farther into the postseason. So I like what San Antonio has there. I was really hoping Ray Allen was going to join them, but he obviously didn't. I really wanted Ray Allen to join them. And then 2, I had the Clippers. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of the Clippers. I feel like once they get into the postseason, they're not the same team that they were beforehand. So maybe this is the year that they make that next step. Blake Griffin, obviously. Me and Max Bedina don't exactly agree on those thoughts. Drizzy, I think that they're going to do what they have to do to contend in this competitive West. At 3, I have the Warriors. I've always liked this. I think the Andre Iguodala signing a couple years back was great for them. Stephen Curry, and then obviously Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers. They're going to be there. I think that this could be the year where they always seem to get a lower seed and then turn it on in the postseason. I think that this could be the year maybe where they get the high seed they need so they could have some home court advantage. At 4, I'm gonna have the Thunder. Kevin Durant obviously being hurt. Russell Westbrook's going to have to carry most of the scoring in the beginning half of the season when he's out. Hopefully he does. I drafted him for my fantasy team, so hopefully that can be positive for me.
Come on, Russ.
At 5, I have my surprise team for the season, the Dallas Mavericks. I think that this team has the best starting 5 in the NBA with Raymond Felton and Chandler Parsons, Dirk Nowitzki, Tyson Chandler. I think that the defensive attribute they gained through Tyson Chandler really makes them a serious contender. I mean, you look at when they played the Heat a couple years back in the finals, it seemed like Tyson was always around the ball making big plays at the rims or anything like that. I think one of the biggest reasons why I didn't have the Knicks in my playoff picture for the East was because no one plays defense on that team. That team's going to give up 100 points a game, no problem. So I think that Dallas is going to do much better. Portland, I do have at 6. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Batum, Damian Lillard. These guys seem to be so streaky when they're hot. I mean, if they can get hot in the postseason, they could arguably make a run all the way to the finals. So it's hard to
they've had the worst bench
really limit what they could do
the past 2 years, and they had some nice signings with Steve Blake and what's his name, Chris Kaman. So yeah. I agree with you there.
At 7, I have the Rockets. I'm not a fan of Dwight Howard. Never have been. I don't think I ever will. I feel like this guy always has a problem with someone. I mean, there's already been talk of him not sitting, him and James Harden sitting isolated from the team, thinking, who they are or whatever it is. I think that's never good to hear for any team. You always have to have chemistry involved, and you can't just choose favorites with a franchise. That's never going to help your team on a positive note, negative. It's always going to be a negative for your team. At the 8s, I have the Pelicans. Obviously, just mentioned earlier, the Omer Sheik deal was huge for them. I think that really boosts them and puts them into the playoff picture, which they weren't in last year. Anthony Davis, I think, is the next superstar. This guy seems to always be successful. He's a beast on the boards. He's always scoring, blocking, doing whatever he has to do to help his team. So that's going to round out my East and West. But quickly, I'm just going to have you guys give me a Rookie of the Year candidate. Just give me 2 or 3 guys that you think are going to be successful.
2 or 3 guys. I mean, going in order, right now, top 2 are either Jabari Parker or Elfrid Payton on the Orlando Magic. Also, don't count out Dante Exum.
Holden?
I'm going to have to go with Jabari Parker, Dante Exum, and Noah Vonleh. I love Jabari Parker.
Is a nice signing.
I love Jabari Parker. He's a ready-made scorer. I think he'll average about 15 to 18 points a game in his first season. Noah Vonleh is a great stretch forward with an NBA-type body and a great perimeter game. And then I love Dante Exum. I think he has the potential to be like the next Kobe Bryant. He has that killer will, that length, athleticism, and just great all-around game.
I think that if you're going to look at anyone, I think I'm going to go with Nerlens Noel from Philadelphia. I just think that no one really views him as a rookie, so I think that this guy's going to play really well with Michael Carter-Williams, whatever they're going to run. I think that they're going to be successful with it. But that is all the time we have for this show. I'm Jeremy Farina.
I'm Holden Pirelli.
And I'm Justin Palillo.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.